We're back. Tokyo Babel. Yay, Tokyo Babel.
Are you sleeping, Zevlen? You look like you're about you.
I am not asleep, but I soon will be watching some movie. I don't know. With one of my friends. So just to recap, before we keep going, last time we cut off after the conversation between Setsuna and Lilith. Lilith went away. Setsuna was about to go away, and then he turned around and saw this person with these eyes. But whose eyes are these eyes? That's a Chaos Head reference. I turned around, having suddenly felt a presence from behind, only to come face to face with a young girl standing just a few centimeters away from me. She simply stood in place, acting like nothing was amiss. No. The fact that I had been unable to pick up on her presence, despite how close she was, left me in complete shock. Her appearance was that of a young girl, no older than 12 or 13, but if Tokyo Babel had taught me anything, it was that looks could be deceiving. Golden locks, seemingly natural, not dyed, an Alice band, and a white-blue apron dress. A necklace with a winged serpent motif hung from her neck, its glint an eerie contrast to her otherwise everyday attire. Her laugh ridiculed, mocked, belittled. Still, that alone did not unequivocally establish her as a foe. After all, even an ally would have ample reason to mock me, so that question remained, who was she exactly? Wait one sec. Sorry if there are interruptions. Every so often, I'm just checking audio level. A cheerful giggle escaped her lips as I stood there, uncertain whether or not she had paid attention to what I just said. She once again giggled, clearly taking me for a fool. This appeared to be her usual style, in which case there was little reason to let it get to me. Yet the mystery of her identity remained unsolved. So-called fallen angel. Then again, Lilith was no angel either, but fallen all the same, which left only a few other options.
Is this girl will be like Lucifer or something?
I don't know.
Oh,
guess we're gonna find out.
Maybe.
This is Japanese writing, right? So there's a high chance that that's the case.
Judging by the serpent-shaped necklace and the way she spoke, after performing a quick search, I got a number of hints. I picked out the most likely candidate and spoke the name out loud. So you're not wrong. Samael is in fact kind of the mystical Jewish version of Satan, but we'll talk about it after the end of the episode. So. I retreated a few steps until I could feel the wired fence pressing against my back. Samael kept observing my every move, her wicked smile growing broader with every passing second. Well, no matter. She could look down on me all she wanted. I'd rather be considered small fry than a genuine threat. The girl thrust out her tongue at me, its vivid red shape coiling about like a serpent's.
ま、今日は挨拶だけだから。
挨拶だけ。
Which meant she would eventually have other plans.
リリスがご出身の人間がどんな存在なのかちょっと見ておこうかなって。
興味本位というわけか。
ねえ、天道刹那だっけ？ちょっと聞きたいんだけど。
私も聞きたいことが。
じゃあ私から。君は神に興味があるかな？
この東京バベルに入れた。当たり前だ。
あ、ごめん。ちょっと質問間違えた。神になりたいと思ったこと。
Oh.
You will be as gods, huh? Something deep within the very core of my heart stirred to life, jolted awake by her words.
思ったことなどない。
でもさ、神だよ、神。絶対にして唯一にして万能にして
ない。
Oh, sorry.
で、こちらからの質問だ。一つ、アスタロト、もしくはカマエル、そしてリリスは君の存在を知っているのだ。
それはどういう意味のご存知なのかな？
I slowly balled my right hand into a fist, switching to combat mode while analyzing all potential methods of dealing with the present situation.
それは君がこの東京バベルにおいて人間、天使、悪魔全体としての目標とは異なる方向性を目指していることについてだ。
私頭弱いからわかんないな、そういうのって。
弱いのならばなおさらだ。
君はどう思う？
Samael lifted into the air, her shape distorting for a second.
道をたがえるので
あれば
I heard a faint whisper right next to my ear. In the time it took for me to glance up, Samael was already standing next to me. She peered into my eyes, her gaze filled with curiosity as she leaned on the nearby fence. Having no doubt sensing my distress, Samael's lips curled into the satisfied smile of a successful prankster.
始末する以外にあるのか。
Oh, shit.
やだ怖いな。そんな短絡的な存在はあのベリアルだけで十分だっていうのに。
The floating Samael removed her necklace and threw it onto the concrete floor below. Oh my god. A moment later, a colossal multi-legged serpent materialized before me from a flash of blinding light, its body an otherworldly fusion of lizard and centipede, a glowing pattern set upon the beast's forehead into a crown. What?
I didn't know they have a true form.
How did we get here?
Yeah,
Could this
that's
creature
true.
be?
こいつは私のペット、バジリスクのクーちゃん。
Basilisk.
足が多いから移動に便利なんだよね。
The Serpent King, Basilisk. Well, I guess we got here because Samael was interested in Setsuna for some reason.
What do you little sense of that? You know. She
Well,
just left
Samael,
the place.
the implication is that Samael is able to hide herself because she's very powerful, which would make sense considering she's kind of the devil.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of really, Samael was
You
the
did-
original devil back when there was in original Judaism there wasn't really a devil. Samael was kind of the first version of that idea.
Okay.
I leapt aside almost immediately to escape the beast's field of vision, but I was too slow. I felt my entire body buckle under a tremendous amount of pressure. Whoever the basilisk's gaze fell upon would gradually be petrified. One did not actually need to make eye contact with the creature for the process to begin. I swiftly worked out the necessary countermeasures and ordered my body to produce the appropriate antibody. By extracting genetic information from my skin, muscle, and blood, all undergoing rapid petrification, I was able to fight off the process via the nanomachines in my bloodstream. The petrification advanced faster than I had anticipated, though. My entire body was gradually solidifying with an unpleasant cracking sound accompanying the process.
じゃあまたね、お兄さん。 それともこれで終わりだったりするのかな。
Samael mounted her basilisk like a steed and took to the skies, leaving the rooftop. The thought of pursuing them crossed my mind for a split second, but ultimately I decided against it. I would never catch up to them, even with a healed body at full speed. I diverted all remaining energy I had to heal myself, left to heal myself. Maybe this was intentional. If Samael knew who Setsuna was, right, and what he could do, and I think that the question of whether he wanted to become a god was pointed, maybe because she knows that he's special somehow. Maybe she pulled out the basilisk because she knew that he wouldn't be petrified, whereas a normal person would be. So she pulled it out just to show that, she has power over the situation and to make a statement, kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe Setsuna is kind of like the perfect vessel for something.
Right.
I don't know.
Sure.
It looks like he has, because he is a cyborg.
Right.
It looks like he has a good ability,
right.
or forgot how to pronounce it.
Right.
Just like Darren saying that the best is those who can. Oh fuck! I can't pronounce it.
Right. Like he's very adaptable. He's kind of like Mega Man.
Adaptable. Thank you.
He just has the right tools for the job.
Does Samael's story involve trying to become God?
No, not really. I'll explain it in more detail at the end of the episode. But Samael, basically, the Jews didn't believe that there was a hypostasis of evil. They were not dualists at all. So Samael was an angel of evil. He wasn't necessarily an evil angel, but he was God's, like the grimy part of God's justice, like the extreme form of God's justice. And in that sense, he was the evil that was under God's command. So he was doing evil things, but he wasn't exactly outside of God, nor did he have a plan of becoming God. He was very much God's servant. It's a very interesting kind of way of conceptualizing it.
I see.
Whereas Christianity doesn't have necessarily a hypostasis of evil, but it believes that evil is the absence of God. And in that sense, it has space for figures like the devil, who are apart from God and then want to take over that essence and become a hypostasis of something to the effect of themselves, right? I diverted all remaining energy I had left to heal myself. My muscles had solidified into a mass hard as rock. The state of it resembled the symptoms of a certain existing illness, yet the speed of the entire process was abnormally high. However, close resemblance meant that the treatment would also be similar. I promptly began producing medical antibodies through my nanomachines. The oppressive feeling that kept my body locked in place began to gradually let up, and by the time I could move my fingers again, I had completely reversed the petrification process. Still, that was not an experience I cared to live through ever again. As I made my way to the top of the fence and looked back over the deserted rooftop, a certain thought came to me. I would protect humans, guide the angels back to heaven, and allow the demons to return to hell. All would join hands as one to make that happen, with our only enemies being the maddened masters. I had my sights set on the one, in a way fairly simple mission. Yet considering the sheer amount of power players who had assembled here, one could hardly be surprised at the inevitable emergence of forces harboring different ambitions. Harboring different ambitions, huh? Even on the brink of the apocalypse, there existed those who would willingly press the launch button for a nuclear missile, guided by calmly calculated intentions rooted in reason and logic. Problems emerged, however, when that very logic was distorted at its core. I kept flying, or rather let myself fall, downward while visualizing an image of the first floor in my mind. As I began approaching ground level, I resumed my flight, then opened the window and landed safely in the hallway.
ちょっと遅いわよ。
Lilith reprimanded me as soon as our eyes met, which I followed up with a brief apology. I was just about to recount what transpired atop the roof.
腕。
She pointed at my right arm with a trembling hand. I looked down to see what caused her panic, only to find my arm completely flayed out of its skin.
すまない 見苦しいものを見せた。
I immediately began renewing my lost skin. I most likely shed it as it was being slowly petrified earlier.
私が飛び降りてから5分の間に何があったってのよ。
襲われ
Just
た。
5 minutes.
おう、誰に？
サマエルという打天神だ。
よーし、詳しい話を聞かせなさい。
Lilith looked at me with the gaze of a predator in front of its would-be prey. I explained what had happened, how Samael came up to me shortly after Lilith left. I made mention of Samael's clear antagonism towards us, as well as the fact that she had attacked me. Back in the night duty room, where both Sodomy and Raziel were sleeping, Lilith let out a wary smile while sipping her tea.
とりあえずマスタルトとカマエルに伝えとくわ。てかやっぱり生きてたのね、あいつ。
死んでたと。
地獄が水没したあたりで行方知れずになっていたからね。まあうっさんくさいやつだったわ。
Well, if Samael's around, and she also disappeared when hell went under, then I guess we can look forward to meeting Lucifer at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is
You gotta
Samael a master? Because they refer to her as being a fallen angel.
Right. She must be, right? I mean, there was in the picture of the masters with the silhouettes, there was someone wielding a scythe with there was a caduceus that also had two entwined snakes, like the necklace that Samael has. So maybe that's her thing.
Yeah, probably. But what was she doing in hell though?
Well, you know, I guess they might be playing fast and loose with the lore, and going for more of a Samael equals Satan kind of deal, which isn't unbelievable, especially if you take like later occult tradition stakes on the classical figure of Samael as a angel of evil, but I don't know. So Samael was our enemy, someone who had declared herself to be a foe to angels and demons alike. What were her motives, goals, and plans for the future? I hadn't the faintest clue.
ただ一点はっきりしているのだ。どうやら私たちを天国に行かせたくない。
I do know that what's the word? It's pretty clear that she's mad. So she does fit that description in terms of who masters are. In the sense of like having a plan that doesn't make any sense. So it's pretty obvious she's gone crazy to some extent. So.
もうこれからはサマエルにも気をつけなくちゃならないってわけね。
I am kind of worried, since she can basically teleport, that we might get invaded. She let out an exaggerated sigh. Either because the sun had risen or they simply heard us talking, Sodomy and Raziel woke up at nearly the same time.
ドーン、おはようみんな。ちくしょう、やっぱり夢じゃないか。
I'm sure very curious, like, what is the big plot importance of sodomy?
I guess I'm really curious too. I have no clue.
I don't think we have any hints or something like it.
Oh man, I wonder. I know she has a root all for herself, so.
Yeah.
I wonder if she will like look at Setsuna and find out his whole deal, or find that he's not entirely human, or if
Yeah.
there's something
Oh.
about him, you know, just
Yeah, I don't know. Sodomy jumped to her feet after kicking her futon up into the air.
隣が朝からテンション高い。
And so our long day of trials and tribulations came to an end, only for another one to begin. Having neither the need nor the inclination to sleep, I instead spent my time planning out our next mission.
You know, I wonder if we are experiencing Lilith's routes.
今日は投稿してちょうだいね。
No, we'll have a divergence point.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The divergence point is the
Like-
second choice, not the first.
Oh, fine.
I think the route might be the best one.
It's the last one, so. Lilith explained the situation as she wolfed down her breakfast.
投稿
What exactly did she mean? Noticing Sodami's confusion, Lilith went on.
もらったリストを使って巡礼途中から行方不明になっているキャラクターを片っ端からチェックしたでしょ。その中の有力候補の3人調べておきたいのよ。
Look into.
どういうことだ今さら
Thinking back to what we discussed yesterday, things didn't quite add up. Sodami spent the good portion of the day looking at various students, that much was true. But what did that all have to do with the missing pilgrims? What was this all about?
支配者である可能性が高いからよ。
支配者は各階層に存在するのでは
それは本体の話。私が言っているのは無意識に分割された方の話。
I wonder if Samael is attached to one of those then. Maybe that wasn't the real Samael. Maybe that was one of these tulpas, as it were.
無意識に分割？分霊って言ってね。巡礼を開始した人間たちはパンドラに分かれた存在を置いていくの。彼らは巡礼する前と同様、ごくごくありきたりの日常をパンドラで過ごし続ける。分霊はほぼ例外なく存在する。たとえ本体が死んでも生き続け。
She dozed off before finishing a sentence.
ラジエルさん、お皿に顔突っ込まないで。
I finally managed to piece things together. That was what Sodami needed to check up on yesterday.
分霊と本体は分かれた瞬間に別物となる。だから分霊を攻撃しても全く無益。逆に彼らと語り合うことで見出せるものがあるかもよ。
In other words,
生存デート
ご名答。彼らと話して心の奥底にある何かを今のうちに知っておく。正の感情であれ負の感情であれ、それを知っておけば助けになるわ。レゾンデートル？あれ？どっかで聞いたような。なんかの用語だよね。
raison d'être, a reason for being. The phrase itself was in French and more or less denoted one's particular reason or justification for existence. Sodami returned my explanation with a puzzled look.
自分がここにいる理由ってそんなに重要なものなの？
Well, Sodami, I definitely want to know why you are here.
そうね。そもそもそれを説明しておいた方がいいよね。納得いかないまま仕事を開始するのも問題あるでしょうし。
Seemingly right on cue, Raziel threw an apple to Lilith, who skillfully caught it and took a large bite out of the fruit.
ソラミ、あなたのいた世界で最強ってどんな存在だった？私の世界？ヘビー級ボクサーとか？銃を持った人間の方が強いでしょ。じゃあ銃を持っていいなら何でもいいじゃない。そうそう、銃を持った人間には戦車で立ち向かえばいいでしょ。戦車を持ってきたのなら爆撃機なんてどうかしら。爆撃機に対抗するならマイカで行く。そうして順繰りに行くと最後に勝ち残るのはやっぱり核ミサイルってことになるわよね。となると世界最強は核ミサイルを撃とうと思えば撃てる国家のトップたちかしら。先に撃っちゃった方が勝ちなんじゃないの？後から反撃した方が勝つかもね。まあいずれにしても
そういう最強同士の争いの結果だけは分かる。
I spoke up almost by reflex.
破滅だよ、空に。後には全く何も残らない。
Are we seeing some PTSDs?
だよね。 ってまあ例えば核ミサイルを持っている個人がいるとしましょう。私たちはそれに勝てるわ。うわ、びっくり。そりゃそうよ。伊達に数千年生きてないわ。といっても核ミサイルにぶち当たったらそれも大ダメージよ。下級の天使や悪魔たちだったらあっさり死ぬかも。まあでもね、私たち程度になると核ミサイルを防ぐ手段をいくらでも講じることができる。それは限定的ながら世界を我が物にする術式。
映像のデ
Lilith nodded approvingly.
この世界における己の優位を
No, I don't.
それを言葉と行動で証明する。それによって生み出される個人による世界侵食兵装。これがあるからこそ我々は最強を歌うことができる。最強ね。
Lilith sighed as Sotomi looked at her, head cocked to the side.
まあこればかりはあなたたちが自身の頭であるいは体で理解できるようにならないとどうにもならないわね。
I don't know that I get it. You display your own worth to the world through words and deeds, thus giving birth to your own personal power to encroach upon reality with. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I guess the more... Maybe it's a play on that thing, on worship power. Like, the more people believe in you, the more power you have. Kind of deal. Isn't it?
I think it is something like that.
Lilith chuckled to herself, giving Sotomi's hair a ruffle.
まあのんび
Just
り
like
やりな
marriage,
さ
you
い
know?
のんびりやると死ぬけど焦って見つかるものでもないし。それ積んでませんか？
いつでもひたすら考えておくといい。人間は考えるための生き物。そのために脳があり頭があり感情があるのだから。
Holy shit, she just said, use your head, damn that.
Remember to think, Sotomi. I know you don't do it
Yeah.
very often. Sotomi groaned in dissatisfaction at her explanation, yet her eyes soon lighted up with recognition.
わかった。要するに簡単にまとめるとあれですよね。超必殺技。ちょっとわかりやすく言い過ぎですよあなた。しかもあながち間違っていないあたりがだいムカつくわ。
そういえばリリス、例えば具体的にはどんなレゾンデートルがあるんだ？
Raziel left out a brief giggle.
刹那の空見ももうすでに体感しているよ。リリスのレゾンデートル。
Raziel said something that surprised the both of us, all the while fiddling with her tablet.
Eh?
Cupping her own chin, Lilith once again gave us a meaningful look. Her giggle was elegant and refined to the point of being unsettling. Nothing seemed out of place, yet I couldn't help but suspect something was amiss.
真理は時の娘、欺瞞は闇の娘。
Lilith uttered the words in a low whisper.
教えてあげるわ。私の術式はいわゆる常時発動型というやつ。私は常に五感を伴った幻影を見せている。
A phantasm, you could say. A noble phantasm? Oh. Mukate kurunoga.
Oh,
幻影？
special attack?
幻影。私はここにいるけど、
I
ここにい
think
ない。どこにいるかは自分ですらよくわからない。でも触れることはできるし、匂いもある、音も聞こえるし、味もあるよ。
She ended her explanation with another giggle.
無意識の常時発動だか
Oh,
ら。
that's pretty powerful.
例えば心を読まれたところで本体がどこかわかる心配はない。
Hmm.
そして幻影を攻撃されたところで死ぬことはない。
核ミサイルを持った人間に私が勝てるのはこれが理由よ。だってここにいないんだもん。
リリス、
For some reason, I could vaguely pick up a hint of sadness in her tone. Yet after a few moments of silence, Lilith switched back to her usual mood and went on.
支配者は
She
ね
gets、
ほぼ
far.
全員レゾンデートを見つけ出している。
I guess
この
I'd
時
say
点で
both.
体力、知力、
Yeah,
Then she
well,
go for another dimension or something like it because she said, "Oh, I can't get hit by a nuclear." Like, what the fuck? The nuclear gets thousands, hundreds of miles.
right.
She can create illusions, can hide her true body, but I don't think she should be able to escape. So maybe she goes for another dimension, something like it. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. You see, every master has already found their respective raison d'être. We may outclass them on every attribute: strength, intelligence, constitution, dexterity, wisdom, or even charisma. That doesn't matter if we can let our guards down, ever. Doesn't mean we can let our guards down, ever.
さっきの空見の言葉じゃないけど、レゾンデートルは時に兵装の形をとり、時に術式の形をとる。人間や天魔の精神同様、千差万別。
故にたとえ私といえども、このパンドラの天使を統率するカマエルすらも、地獄の大
I'm starting to think how OP is this ability? Literally, because maybe this is not it. Because she said it is power activity. Maybe she can be basically anywhere she wants.
Right.
We don't know the length, how far it goes. This ability. So
I think she can be anywhere. I think that this is a play on the thing of her flying away and going somewhere else, and then stalking the children of the whole world after she got banished from paradise.
okay,
I think that's what they're going for.
that's pretty powerful.
Well, couldn't something similar be happening to Samael?
Could. Definitely could.
It would explain why she was her form was weak during the encounter with Setsuna. She was kind of teleporting, right?
Right. I think that maybe the implication is that was one of the spirit doubles, right? And that her real body is somewhere, and then we need to find it. I think that the thing is, Lilith has the spirit double thing, but backwards, where instead of her real body moving on and her spirit double remaining in one place, hidden, her real body's hidden and her spirit double moves anywhere it wants to, right? I think that may be the idea.
Well, she does not know where her body is, so
Right.
pretty effective.
Sotomi took a big gulp as Lilith finished her monologue.
無論彼らも強大なレゾンデートルを有しており、敗北する可能性はゼロに近いけど。
But what if they are? The isolation of heaven and the flooding of hell had dealt a tremendous blow to both angels and demons, as each group suffered great losses to their numbers. The elite angels and demons would inevitably be forced to lead their lesser brethren. As such, it came as no surprise that the latter would have their hands tied. Although, there are certain demons among their ranks who value combat above all else.
そんなわけで、天使も悪魔もリスクを冒したくはない。そうかといって天国を目指すべき人間同士を勝ち合わせるのはあまりに愚か。
She was right. Using humans too for that end was beyond foolish.
まあ、そんなわけで、天使たちはアダムを作り、私は刹那を召喚したというわけ。
Sotomi looked at Lilith in confusion, no doubt having noticed the clear-cut contradiction in the explanations she had just been given.
リリス、人間同士を勝ち合わせるのは愚かって言ったわよね。
言ったわ。
刹那は？
刹那はまあ例外なのよ。
Sotomi appeared thoroughly flabbergasted, looking at me like she had 1,000 questions to ask. This was not the time to tell her. I shook my head, signaling to her that the answers would have to wait.
それで昨日のことだけど、 私と空見が調べて怪しかった生徒3人。ラジェル。
ちょっと待って。
She swiped her fingers across the tablet, and a few moments later a holographic screen materialized in front of us.
これが1人目。名前は日上渉。男子生徒2年263組。すでに巡礼を開始しているが消息不明。死亡記録もない。
There was something oddly unsettling about his burning red hair, its locks wild like raging fire. He had the look of someone who'd readily laugh at the face of death despite the odds.
彼は悪魔を食らったという情報がある。それがもし本当ならば、ゲテルと同じように壊れている可能性が極めて高い。
どうも炎の大総裁ことアブナスを食らった形跡があるのよね。
Don't know that one. Looks Zoroastrian to me, though. Avnas, a demon said to be the very embodiment of hellfire. If this student had really devoured him, his world would no doubt be one consumed by fire. The more we knew about the nature of our enemies, the easier we could formulate effective countermeasures against them.
2人目、名前は九郎都、女子3年13組。彼女は天使を食らった人間だと言われているわ。
The screen displaying Hinoe's data disappeared, its place taken by a picture of a young girl with long hair and a faint light emanating from her back.
そう、本来人間が持つはずのない天使の宝翼。天使を食らった人間でない限り彼女の肉体にこんな変化が起きるはずがない。
彼女が食らった天使が誰なのか、それすらもわからない現状では、できるだけパンドラで接触してある程度の当たりをつけてからでないと危険。
ゲテルの時はまだなんとかなったけどね。もし上級3体と呼ばれるクラスの天使を食らっていたらやばいわよ。
誰をパクパクしちゃったかくらい見当つかないの？
震災の時にいっぱい死んで、10年の時も山ほど死んだのよね。死を記録していた書物は失われ、もうさっぱりわからないというのが現状なのよ。
極端な話、天使を3体食らっていたらもう誰がどれほどの力を得ているのかすら不明になる。
ともかく彼女は天使を食らって公欲を得た。そして第2階層以降にどこかに本体を潜ませている。彼女は
ラスト3人目、1年2500組の男子押柴鋼。
こいつは壊れているかどうか微妙に不明なのよね。ただ空見の目に引っかかったから何かがあるんでしょ。
My first impression of him was that he was a cold-blooded young man. Upon looking more closely at his picture, though, I came to a different conclusion. He was cold steel incarnate, much like his surname's meaning would imply, his frigid gaze more the result of universal apathy than anything else. I came to another realization as well, that he was a monster surpassing even myself.
私の勘っていうか、ゲテルの目が知らせてくれたんだけどね。この子には何かあると思うの。
経歴も守護天使も一切不明。人間なのか天使なのか悪魔なのかすらわからないわ。
いかにも正体不明って顔してるもんね。
せつな、この3人の中で気になった人間は？ちなみに私が妙に気になってるのは悪魔くらいのバカそうな男。
とにかく正体不明だった人はちょっと気になるかな。
ともかく今日はこの3人の誰かと語り合わなきゃならない。せつな、あなたは誰と話したい？選んで。
Let's see. After carefully considering the 3 individuals displayed on Raziel's tablet, I ultimately pointed to...
Oh, so this is the choice.
You have a choice, yeah. This is going to decide our route. The third one is forbidden because we have to unlock it first.
Okay.
So I think that we will go with the who devoured an angel.
Okay, we have one for Miyako. What do you say?
I thought we were doing like the routes in order.
We can.
So,
We can also not, if you would prefer to do that. I don't mind.
let's go in order.
In order?
go.
Alrighty. Kuro Miyako
で
then.
はこの黒宮子という少女
へえ何二人とも。
いや別にただなんていうの迷わず女の子を選んだなって
そっかそっか、せつなも男の子だもんね。
せつなはそんな気持ちで選んだんじゃないと思うけど。
Lilith stole a quick glance at me. I figured I should explain myself.
私が彼女を選んだのは
選んだのは
Why indeed? I wasn't quite certain myself. But compared to a straightforward case of madness with the student who devoured a demon, or the one whose identity we knew next to nothing about,
彼女の方が幾分コミュニケーションを取りやすいと思った
それってつまり
Lilith's grin gradually widened.
女の子の方が話しやすいってことだよね。
Sotomi mustered a frustrated smile.
そうだろうかそういうことになるのかな
私の必死のフォローが虚しい。
Man.
Yeah.
The three of them glared at me in unison, though I didn't quite understand why. I wonder if I said something I shouldn't have.
さてじゃあとっととクラスメートにならなきゃいけないよね。せつな、サラミついてきて。ラジエルはどうする？
私は図書館に行く。
Lilith looked at her with clear surprise.
また？いや別に構わないけどさ、いい加減諦めたらどうなのよ。本があるとしたら東京バベルのどこかよ。
巡礼で回収された本がまだ残っているはずだから念のために調べておきたいの。
セファーラジ
Raziel nodded. That book must have meant the world to her. The Book of Raziel the Angel, a divine tome containing all angelic knowledge and secret wisdom.
私は他者とコミュニケーションを取るのも苦手だし、あとは任せる。
Raziel stood up and excused herself. Lilith exhaled a sigh as she watched the angel leave.
協調性がない娘っ子ね。まあグレン隊の私らが言うのもなんだけど。
私らってグレン隊なの？
大グレン隊よ。かっこよく言うと歴史に残らぬ名もなき部隊よ。平たく言うと万年補欠遊撃隊。
天界最強無敵の超絶美形エリート部隊とかじゃないんですか？
ないわ。
ないね
っていうかそれ明らかにかませだから。かませ以外の何者でもないから。
せめてボンクラ男子が憧れる名誉も栄光もなく地獄を這いずり回る七支部隊のポジションを目指すわ。
Chuny girlfriend. Chuny GF. I need it. I need it right now. I genuinely had trouble understanding Sotomi on certain occasions, including this one. Either way, we had more important matters to discuss.
そういえばリリスはなぜラジエルと組もうと思ったの？
東京バベルが動き出し人間たちを平行世界から召喚することが決まってその直後の会議だったかな。
Flashback time?
では天使と悪魔で一組ずつ。
Oh, there he
Oh,
is.
so this is Samael.
This is Samael.
Yeah. The red boy.
ラジエルは余ったやつと組ませることにする。
むにゃむにゃ。もう食べられない。
What the fuck?
おいおい、何この娘っ子。今時人間でもやらないベタな寝言かましちゃってくれてるわよ。
本当にもう食べられない。
What the fuck? What is she dreaming of, man?
食べ
I don't
何
know.
やら苦しそうなのだが
I think there is too many people in this room.
ベタだと思ったら変化球で来やがったか。まあいいや。とりあえず放置。
What the fuck they're talking about? Okay.
私があなたと組むことになったリリスよ。
ああ、夜の魔女。起こしてくれてありがとう。嫌な夢見てたから。
Sounds like it.
一体何の夢を見ていたんだお前は。
フランスのガチョウになってフォアグラになるま
What
で
the
食べ
f-
物を
Why?
囲まれるよ。
Man, God, that's horrible.
なんでそんなにピンポイントで奇怪な夢を見るのよ。
でも餌はなかなかいけた。
リリス頑張れ。
じゃんけん弱いな私。
Oh God, Raziel.
というのが事の次第のあらましね。
どうしよう。期待の新人なんだけど、私的に
何の期待？
お笑い芸人。
否定はしないわ。さて、そんなことよりそろそろ行きますか。ファイトー。おー。
Lilith thrusts her fist into the air.
おー。
The two of them, their fists still in the air, suddenly began staring at me with an uncomfortable expression. I was at a loss as to why.
やりなさい。
おお。
As I lifted my fist into the air, their expression shifted to a satisfied smile. Their respective trains of thought remained a constant mystery to me. Their moods seemed to be in complete sync, too. I exhaled a weary sigh, having decided to simply let them do as they pleased. These two, they would be the end of me. Seriously. Oh, we changed perspectives. I kept searching for my book. I wandered listlessly from shelf to shelf like a Medusa drifting deep under the ocean waves, or a mindless Cupid driven only by instinct, and kept searching for my book. I checked volume after volume, desperately looking for a clue to be investigated, a lead to be followed. I lived through the past of thousands of years in such idleness. Where could my book be?
こんにちは。
I greeted Dantalion, the supervisor of the library. They both turned in my direction, sighing with a knowing look in their eyes. Because this is also a short one, I'll just go over it. Dantalion is one of the, I believe, 78 or 72 demons of the Limegeton, the Lesser Key of Solomon. And their deal is that they can take any form that they want. They have many faces, Dantalion. And I believe they're also associated with knowledge. And providing it to people. And I think they can also teleport you anywhere. Just to be sure, let me look at my notes. Yep, the 71st of the 72 demons has a form of a man with many faces, men's and women's, holding a book on his right hand. His power is to teach all arts and sciences and expose the secret counsel of anyone as he knows, and may change the thoughts of all people. He can also cause love and show the similitude of a person by vision, and let them be in any part of the world they will. So that is Dantalion.
Dantalion is the girl on the right.
Dantalion is both of them.
Okay, that makes sense.
またお前か。いつまで経っても飽きぬやつよ。
The two students, a male and a female, met my eyes in a cold gaze. They were Dantalion. Well versed in and willing to teach all arts and sciences, the Dantalions were seemingly capable of freely manipulating human thought. Under normal circumstances, they all, strictly speaking, though weren't they one entity, worked at the library.
暇だから。
暇なのはお前だけだ。バカ者め。まったく。少しは危機感を持てぬのか、お前たち天使は。
どういうこと？
先ほど、お前たち天使が作り出した例のあいつが。
Oh, Adam came down here, huh?
さまよってきたぞ。何やら興味深そうに本を適当に漁っていたぞ。我々とてビブリオマニアであることは否定しないが、この状況でのんきに漫画など読んでいる場合か。
Whoa.
Manga?
If this world's Adam is being raised on manga, we're gonna have a bad time. Visibly weary of the conversation, the Dantalions exhaled another sigh.
漫画だ。人間の描いた漫画を、それはもう順繰りに読みふけっていたよ。 何か巡礼のために必要な知識が欲しかったなら話はわかるが、漫画とはふざけすぎだ。
Yet another sigh followed. Initially perplexed as to how I ought to respond, I soon concluded that I had no obligation to do so. He resembled the original only in name. Other than that, he was a complete stranger.
アダムはまだここに？
あらかた漫画を読み終えたと見えて、どこかに行ってしまった。イブも彼の後についていっていなくなった。
では私が使うことにする。
好きにしろ。
The Adam that doesn't look like Adam and doesn't behave like Adam, huh? The two Dentalians promptly resumed sorting through their archives. Well then, I directed my gaze from the library floor all the way up towards the ceiling, taking in a massive set of books looming above like makeshift imitations of the Tower of Babel. And here gravity was regulated through magic, preventing any books from ever falling to the ground, which also meant that Dantalion occasionally had to collect the few stray volumes drifting through the air and fall in order to return them to their original places. A calm stillness permeated the air, lacking in sanctity, yet hardly quiet enough to be considered unsettling. I enjoyed being here. I leapt onward, soaring through the air, having already memorized the exact location of each and every book I had once read in this library. The only question on my mind was what to open up next.
ここのジャンルは、地上の歴史。
The field of world history was hardly a unified one. There were as many different histories as there were parallel universes, leading to the necessity of an entire mountain of history books. History books written by angels and demons were meticulous to a fault, allowing for no room for potential alteration of history to fit the needs of an influential outside party.
それはいいことだな。
Setsuna let a bitter smile creep onto his lips as he told me that. Back in his world, he too must have borne witness to the clash of multiple histories, altered pasts vying for dominance over even more altered versions. I myself had come to see many examples of such things. People's arguments over which team had won a sports match, escalating to all-out war, to cite an example. To us, angels, a myriad histories of countless parallel worlds existed unitarily. However, that was not the case to the people living in said worlds. One's own history mattered the most, a mindset harbored by the majority of humans, a mindset powerful enough to foolishly drive them to spill each other's blood. No, I shouldn't have called it foolish. I smiled, conscious of my situation. Had I not just been as much of a fool myself, sparing no expense whatsoever of my search for a book? I lifted a book off the shelf, swiftly leafed through its contents, then put it back, all in the span of 3 seconds. I repeated that action countless times, never caring to stop and reread earlier volumes. The moment I looked upon a page, its contents became completely embedded in my mind. The Dantalions observed my continued efforts with visible amazement. They had never in their countless lives seen anyone devour books at such staggering speed. While fundamentally speaking, I cared little for how others perceived me.
そう言っている時点で実は他者の目をこの上なく気にしているのよね、ラジエルは。
Upon remembering my unlikely companion's former quip, my fingers halted their rapid browsing.
まあ今はまだ自覚がないようだからいいけれど、自覚を持ったらいろいろと大変よ。
I shook the image of my mischievously giggling friend out of my mind. I needed to focus on these books, not old memories. My finger reflexively stopped at a certain page. Even if my mind had stored all its data in pristine condition, I couldn't help but come to a halt upon encountering such a shocking piece of information.
これは
A mere history book chronicling the events of one world out of many, yet it differed from the rest on a certain point.
刹那の世界だ。
Oh shit! The memory of that day lived on in me vividly, the moment when Lilith decided to rescue a certain human from a certain parallel world. When Lilith went on to investigate the history of that world, she broke out in cold sweat in a way very much uncharacteristic of a demon.
とんでもねえ役目も引き当てたかも。
She even went as far as saying something like that. When guided by Lilith, I arrived into that parallel world. I beheld complete and utter ruination. The scene unfolding before me dwarfed in intensity even the heavenly destruction that once rained down upon Sodom and Gomorrah. The nuclear missiles had reduced entire cities to charred ashes, leaving nothing but desolate ruins in their wake. One would have difficulty even locating the corpses of the deceased. Hoping to find survivors was a fool's errand at best. Yet Lilith was firm in her conviction, confident that he was indeed alive.
こんな状況でも
We took to the skies at full speed. There was hardly any need to hide ourselves, flying to the side. Tendo Setsuna merely gazed at the unfolding death and destruction before him with a gaze bereft of emotion. And that was how he and I met. He accepted both Lilith's invitation and the existence of parallel worlds. We needn't even teach him how to fight. Lilith called him expendable. If Adam was to be a divine sword forged through the combined efforts of the angels, then Tendo Setsuna was no more than a mercenary steel, simple and coarse.
まあもっともそんなただの兵士のただの鉄拳は改良に改良を重ねちゃってさもう誰にも扱えないような化け物じみた存在になっているんだけどね
I had previously inquired about Setsuna's past, yet Lilith refused to say a word. She claimed he may end up being persecuted if the truth came to light, and so I had given up on receiving an answer. Until I found this book.
天道刹那
His name spilled forth from my lips without me even realizing it.
マジ今お前人間の名前をつぶやかなかった
The Dantalions were very much receptive to such things. I stared back at them, cocking my head to the side in confusion.
私つぶやいた
ああつぶやいたちなみに恋愛ジャンルはその角を曲がって右に1キロ進んだ場所だ
Oh, great, a kilometer away? Yeah, I'm walking that.
その先を求めるなら官能小説は
帰る
Using the nearest Dantalion's head as a springboard, I vaulted into the air. Ignoring the variety of expletives they shouted my way, I exited the library. Still, I myself failed to notice how I had uttered his name. I floated down the hallway, wrestling with waves of odd, unfamiliar emotions. The students I passed turned to look in my direction with visible surprise. Odd. Had I done something to invite their gazes?
廊下を飛ぶなバカ者人間たちが混乱するだろうが翼も出すな走るな歩け
Oh my god. I appeared to have angered Samael. He was positively fuming. Very well, we are back at the human perspective.
Yeah. That kind of brings memories of the first episode.
It does. I won't say that it's good to be in this classroom again. I kind of have bad memories of it. I suppose it was time. I suppose it was time to meet the so-called angel-devouring student. We all sat in the classroom with Sodomy right next to me. We were introduced to the class not as transfer students. Instead, we were set up. Things were set up so that we had always been students here. Our noisily chattering classmates were, in a way, both looking at and through us, like they weren't even registering us. The one person capable of noticing us was a certain Kuro Miyako.
緊張するよ
Hold it together, Sodomy. Sodomy's fingers toyed anxiously with the hem of her skirt. Noticing her distress, I decided to say something that could possibly ease her attention.
リリスに聞いたけ
I
れ
can't blame her.
こういう時は
Just a few days ago, she was almost killed in place just like that.
It's true.
ああそういうおまじないあったね
This method seemed to be quite popular in other worlds, even though it never existed in mine. Nor did I ever recall anyone seeing anyone trying to swallow their entire fist.
空見食いすぎ
手がベトベトする
Oh my god.
What?
Well, of course it is. As I met her antics with the sigh, I took note of a soft giggle from somewhere nearby.
I think Sorami is the perfect example of the type of video that appears in the internet YouTube. Like Don't let them know your next move.
Right, right. I turned around and froze in place almost immediately. I love her. She's great. The exact person we had been looking for was sitting right there smiling at Sorami. Kuro Miyako. She gazed at us with a smile warm as a spring breeze, emanating an aura of feminine elegance.
どうしたの？空見さんだったかしら。
Startled by how abruptly she appeared, Sorami's brain had completely locked down. She merely gazed back at her, mouth agape. Having seemingly misunderstood Sorami's reaction, Kuro's tone took a shade of confusion.
あらら、間違えていますかしら。
I promptly poked Sorami's side with my elbow. That seemed to be enough to galvanize her as she proceeded to shake her head with renewed vigor.
私、くぐつ空見。設定年齢19歳。カニ座の B 型。美形だ。
Oh my god. I couldn't quite explain why, but I suddenly felt this immediate urge to karate chop her on the head.
君はいろいろと嘘をつきすぎているというか立ち直ってなかったのか。
大丈夫でしょうか。
No.
主に頭とか脳とか
Definitely
心とか。
Definitely not mentally. I don't know about physically and emotionally.
はい、空見です。頭も脳も心も大丈夫です。あれ？なんかディスられてる？私。
I would not be surprised.
それから
天童刹那です。あなたは工藤美也子さんですね。
ええ、そうですけど。
いやー、どうもはじめまして。あ、クラスメートですけど、なんかもう初対面って感じがして仕方なくて。
そうでしたか？あら、そういえば私話しかけたこともありませんでしたっけ？
いえいえ、それはこちらも読んどころない事情がいろいろとあった次第でございまして、まあなんというか気にすんなと申しましょうか。
それにしても私の真ん前の席ですのに、どうして今まで話しかけなかったのかしら。
We must have gone a little overboard with how convenient we had made our seating arrangements.
まあ、今から仲良くなればいいんだよ。ねえねえ、クロさん、みやこさんって呼んだ方がいいかな。
みやこの方がいいですわね。
そっか、じゃあみやこさん、趣味は？
バイオリンと乗馬かしら。
Damn, we got a fancy one here.
イエス、ブルジョージー。
Sotomi was bursting with energy. She must have been the type to talk loudly and passionately in conversation.
バイオリンと乗馬か。馬を飼ってるの？
いえいえ、部活動で乗っているというだけですわ。乗馬部ご存知ありますか？
Man, I wish I had one of those in college.
なかった。
That sounds fun.
今度見学させてもらう。
はい、歓迎いたします。
それでね、みやこちゃん。
すごいですわね。加速度的に仲良くなってきましたわ。なんでしょう、空見ちゃん。
あなたのレゾンデート
What the
教え
fuck?
て。
What the fuck, Sotomi? What kind of strategy is this, man?
Don't let it out. Don't let it out.
Don't let them know. Oh my god. Do you think she knows that we're we're undercover now? God damn it. Fuck. Oh my
She's the best.
I love Sotomi. She's great.
なんでしょう、それ。
For fuck's sake. Oh my god. It was the expected response. Sotomi may have jumped the gun just a little bit.
いや、なんでもない。あまり気にしなくていいよ。
How would I explain this? I pulled up the most appropriate example from the thousands upon thousands of conversations I had stored in my mind.
君のすべてを知りたい。
What? Whoa! What?
Oh.
Whoa!
それを知ってどうするおつもりで？
Kudo retreated a few steps with eyes ready to cry, hugging her own body. Oh my god. I think this might be considered sexual harassment in a few countries, Setsuna.
I think so, too.
I could have sworn I had made the correct choice. Oh my...
Son of a gun.
Oh my god. Sarami followed that up with a punch to my jaw. Seeing how I was not in combat mode, it hurt quite a bit. Oh, you can say that again, Mrs. Kudo giggled to herself, having seemingly regained her composure. Sarami extended a hand towards Kudo, who returned with a gesture with a nervous laugh and a quick bow. Oh. She retreated another step. Sarami mouthed a brief, "Oh, I see," in an understanding tone as she pulled her hand back. This was no mere act on Kudo's part. She was genuinely refused us, due to certain trauma she must no doubt have been wrestling with. Revulsion and fear, possibly. I had a difficult time trying to read her expression. Maybe sexual assault victim. She doesn't like being touched. She got about to cry when she was asked that question by Setsuna.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how she died, or connected to the reason why she's here.
Probably something, yeah.
Kudo promptly walked back to her desk and sat down. Seemingly taking that as a cue, the entire classroom was soon enveloped by silence. Confirming the evidence, Sorami threw herself down on her seat, completely dejected. Huh. Classes, huh?
Oh, it's so funny that Sorami is worrying about that.
Right. Sorami shot a look of confusion my way. Is that what I was to call it? I had all the necessary knowledge simply implanted into me. Semantics aside, I'd never experienced learning in an environment like this. Sit tight and pay attention, was that it? The classroom door slid open as someone ordered us to stand in a firm tone. All the other students around me began to rise from their desks. I followed their example.
What the fuck? Isn't the same? I think it is the same.
It is the same professor. It's the same teacher.
Yeah.
A robust-looking teacher stepped into the classroom proclaiming all that with the broadest of smiles. Most people would simply ignore this proclamation as a quirky joke.
Gaffa was not creative.
Right. However, I was not most people. After all, I knew his true identity as the Demon Lord. Stripped of all the shred of composure, Sorami abruptly let out an ear-piercing yell. All gazes in the room fell upon her in an instant. The teacher himself looked at her in surprise. What the fuck? What is this? What is this compulsion, man? Professor Kumamoto nodded in response. That must have been his alias here at Pandora. Still, I knew his real name all too well. I think it's funny that they used Professor like she was in college, when we all know she was in high school. Right? That's kind of weird. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if that's legal, getting into this. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. A demon lord, the worthless one, the embodiment of debauchery and vices, ready to corrupt for the sake of corruption, and the jurist of hell. We called him Belial, which was also an early version of Satan that comes from Judaism. But we'll also get into it later. Belial flashed a hearty smile. He knew all about who we were and what we were after. Exhaling a weary sigh, Belial made his way to the back of the classroom.
とりあえずしばらく立ってろ。
Kudo and a number of other classmates giggled amongst themselves, while Sotomi flashed red as a lobster. We needed to talk to her after class. Man, Sotomi's just fucking giving us away for free. 10 minutes passed before Belial allowed Sotomi to sit back down, prompting a quick sigh of relief from her. I paid attention to the class while a part of my mind confirmed what I had known about Belial. The famed jurist of hell, master of lies and deceit, said to have commanded an army led by children of darkness. His most notable feat, however, is related to how he once prosecuted a certain holy man. He appeared to have lost the case, though. Either way, while Belial, also known as an attorney at hell, had a certain intellectual aura to him, I couldn't help but look at the way he taught his class, occasionally letting out a hearty guffaw, and think of him as to be a somewhat of a rough, uncouth character.
じゃ、今日の授業はここまでだ。はい起立。
The very moment Belial left, the classroom regained its former boisterousness.
空見ちょっといいかな。
The moment we stepped out into the hallway, our link to the classroom was severed.
どうしたの？
いやそれは私が聞きたいんだけど、あの先生に何かあったの？
ああ、そっか。見えたことは見えたんだけど、私が驚いたのは別のことね。
別？
Sotomi told me all about the circumstances surrounding the illusionary world Getel had trapped her inside. The same situation that eventually brought us together.
あの先生が夢の中に？
そう、だからびっくりしちゃって。いやまあ考えてみれば、私が見ていたというか閉じ込められていた夢ってリリスもクラスメートとして出てたからね。
I wonder if this was Getel's fault or if it was conforming to Sotomi's expectations, if she really is a chosen one, if she somehow had all these people imprinted into her memory from the get-go, you know? Like they're talking in this is a wild theory, okay? I don't expect it to be true, but hear me out here. They're talking about artificial humans a lot, right? We're looking at Setsuna, who's not quite human, and he has all these nanomachines and implanted knowledge, so he's kind of a cyborg or a robot or something. Invented human, right? To rival Adam, the angelic Adam, that's also a created human, right? What if, hear me out, what if Sotomi is a created human as well, and she's just now kind of developing, she's being coached by Lilith or something, right, into growing into the world that they projected her for. That's why she knows, that's why she has these people implanted into her head. And that would mean that the person that gave her to Getel would have been part of her projection, maybe, or something like that. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I think it's a
makes
valid
sense.
theory.
I don't think there's a lot of evidence for it, but it could make
Yeah,
sense.
there is. It makes sense.
I wonder if that's what they're doing. Her tone implied that Lilith's appearance in the dream was hardly anything to be surprised by.
そうそう、熊本先生、すごい力を秘めているって感じがしたんだけど、あの人、やっぱり何か違うの？
彼悪
有名な悪魔？
ベリア
But shouldn't Setsuna be able to sense it? You know, maybe the nano or something like it. Maybe the special
知っ
vision.
てる知ってる。
Right.
そっか。
Or the Lilith
道
or
理が強いはず
Raziel.
だ。
No one can sense it.
I don't know. Yeah. Sotomi
I
nodded.
think
Oh, go ahead.
it's just a little bit weird that no one noticed, but it can still be. It's still a good theory.
Right. Sotomi nodded to herself in a comprehending fashion.
そんなに強かった？
私の見立てだとリリスより強いかも。セツナはどうかな。ごめん。そもそもセツナの強さがいまいち把握できてないんだよね。私の目は。
The one thing that really pushes me towards that kind of theory is that Lilith and Setsuna must have had a reason to come rescue Sorami. And when she was describing, when Lilith was describing the kind of people that they go after, she was talking about these heroes and stuff that have a possibility of actually being useful in the pilgrimage, and that somehow Sorami being the only survivor of her reality, when she's a nobody with no powers, is kind of sus.
Yeah, it's kind of sus. But what I wanted to say is, like, it's just so weird that we didn't see any thoughts of Setsuna saying, like, oh, maybe it's because she has 3 points, you know?
Right. That's why I think this must be like a secret project by someone. I don't know. That's my crackpot theory. I'm gonna put it to the back burner, and then if I turn out to be right, I'll laugh at all y'all.
Okay. For now, we just put don't let them know.
Yeah, right. I'll put it in the fridge. I'll take it out of the fridge when the time comes. Powerful, Well, of course he would be. He was a demon lord after all.
ちなみに空見の夢って他にはどんな人が出てた？
まず最初に熊本先生に怒られて、リリスが南雲有利って名前で登場して、その次にカップルが出てきたんだ。
カップル？
そうそう、確か荒田夢之助って名前だった。
どんな性格だった？
ボソボソっと喋る、なんかこう冷たいイメージの人だった。
なるほど。
ああ、でも美形だった。カニ座の B 型くらい。
引っ張るな、そのネタ。
I smiled to myself and was about to return to the classroom when I felt the very air around us chill. I turned around, finding myself arrested by a nightmarish sensation, a feeling I couldn't for the life of me describe. What the fuck is happening? A fated encounter, the kind of miracle man seldom ever experiences. I may have my head in the clouds at times, but even I, Kugutsu Sorami, could comprehend the sheer improbability of a force like fate miraculously guiding people to each other. Labeling everything as the work of fate was akin to entrusting all aspects of one's life to God, or rather, the whimsy of an invisible, unknowable being. Take my meeting with Tendo, Setsuna, Lilith, and Raziel, for example. While that encounter may have bordered on the miraculous, what truly counted as such was the fact that I had been in the right place at the right time. Our meeting itself was inevitable. Had I not ran all across that campus in a panic, I would never have been rescued. Had someone else been in my place, they would simply have been saved just the same. In other words, that meeting could hardly be labeled a fated encounter. It was anything but. And so my line of thinking went a bit like this. Such an encounter would only occur once in a person's life. A fated meeting with a person who would entice you in mere seconds, someone to kindle a flame in your heart, someone you could readily yield yourself to. Or perhaps a rival, a person who would set your wrath ablaze in mere seconds, someone to fuel your animosity, someone you could never find common ground with. On this day, fate would grant such an encounter not to Kugutsu Sorami, but rather to Tendo Setsuna. The man's eyes shot straight ahead, brimming with confidence. A young woman trailed behind him with a downcast gaze, occasionally stealing a look or two at her companion. I felt overwhelmed by their very presence, though not due to our prior meeting in Gethel's dreamscape. Quite the opposite, in fact. These two were nothing like their counterparts from my dream. It felt almost like comparing fool's gold to the real thing, or gazing into the glitter of scientifically created synthetic diamond. The difference between the insect that crawls upon the earth and the falcon soaring the high skies. Adam and Eve. They were beings far beyond my comprehension, that much I could understand. I silently gulped. My entire being was assaulted by a rare feeling of unrest as I observed the pair making their way down the hallway. Despite my heart rate remaining unaffected, I felt it impossible to shake off the waves of unease creeping up on me. Displaying one's raison d'être proved essential for life at Tokyo Babel. One would need to properly articulate it to sculpt their longing into words. Otherwise it was doomed to failure. Yet the man before me was different. He simply existed. Through that fact alone, he had asserted his very being. He was raison d'être given flesh. That was Adam. Adam glanced in my direction. I stood petrified as he sized me up with a colorless gaze.
Shit.
どこか
You
で
know,
お
you
会
know
いした
what?
だろうか
Maybe we can make quick pause.
A quick pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait. Gimme. Okay, so we're cutting it off here. But before we do, I just want to give a quick look at the figures that we met today. I might edit in some graphics like I did for the Lilith one, but I'm not sure about that because I'm kind of lazy. So let's see, who did we meet in order? So we met Samael. I don't have a lot of written down about Samael because there's just too much to write about. But the long and short of it is kind of what I mentioned earlier. Samael, back in pre-Talmudic times and early Judaism, there wasn't really a conception of Satan or of evil as like a hypostatic thing. Evil wasn't a thing that existed to them, like its own unique thing. They had many opinions about what evil was, or if it even existed at all. And in that context of discourse is where the Belial creature kind of came into being, but we're going to talk about him soon. One of those winning theories came up in the Kabbalah, which has come up when we were talking about Raziel. And in that theory, God, was a series of emanations, could be summarized into a series of emanations from its original kind of monistic, undescribable, kind of untouchable, inconceivable form known as Ein Sof, right? And that's kind of parallel to the Neoplatonic kind of idea of the one. But anyway, from these emanations, each of these emanations represented kind of one of the aspects or one of the attributes of God, and they kind of encapsulated that that idea. So those were the Sphirot, and the way that they're schematized usually is into that tree of life format that's very commonly referred to when you're talking about the Kabbalah. Famously showed up in Evangelion, right? And a different form of it showed up in Ghost in the Shell. But the idea that these early Kabbalists came up with about evil was that evil came up when one of God's attributes was pushed far to its extreme. So in their conception, God was master over everything, and as such, he must be also the master over evil. And that evil isn't necessarily a bad thing, is a part of God. It's just when it's out of measure, it can be bad for humans. And so in their conception, evil kind of outgrew from an extremification of either God's strength or God's justice. So it was either kind of too strict, stringent, draconic justice that was perhaps unnecessarily stringent, or it was too far, too excessive an application of force that kind of entered into the cruel. Their idea about that was that Samael, this angel, was associated with this extremity of one of these things, and as such, he was the angel that was responsible for evil. He was the kind of the agent of evil in service of God. He wasn't really an adversary as such. He wasn't Satan as such. Satan means adversary, right? He wasn't trying to dethrone God or anything. He was serving God. He was just a servant that carried out evil. And so he caused disease and hunger and pain and such. Later on, Samael would kind of get associated with different things as the Kabbalistic theory kind of developed. Samael got thrown in with the Sitra Achra, where it got described as one of the husks, as it were, which is the reverse sphira, the reverse sphirot of the klipot, being the of the Sitra Achra and the klipot mean the same thing. They're the reverse tree of life, kind of the evil that grows from the goodness of God. And again, it doesn't mean that it needs to be extinguished. They just need to be in correct alignment and in correct proportion for God to be made whole again, which is the purpose of Kabbalah. They think that true salvation comes when God is perfectly aligned, which is why the tree of life diagram exists. That's how it should be. It isn't how it is. We need to make it that way. And only when it kind of gets into that exact alignment, God will be made whole again. And then later on, after it was solidified that Samael was the personification of evil, the Gnostics started seeing him as a version of the Demiurge. So where Sethians called the Demiurge Yaldabaoth, other Gnostics would call him Saklos, and sometimes they called him Samael. And of course, this means that by the time that Second Temple Judaism was a thing and Christianity was rising up, and it took form, and then a few hundred years later, as Western occultism started developing, the identification of Samael with the devil, or of Samael as a demon, as an archdemon or something, kind of a fiend, started developing, and then you start seeing the kind of thing that you see here in Tokyo Babel, where Samael is the big, powerful demon or fallen angel that you may summon to use in Solomonic magic schemes, much like you would Dantalion, right? So that's kind of the big and short of it. Not a lot of detail, just because there's too much to talk about. Samael is a very interesting figure with a very wide kind of reception and interpretation in different versions of the myth. In terms of, we've already talked about Dantalion, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. But Belial is also interesting. And this is kind of a longer story, kind of like Lilith. Belial, the word means lacking worth or worthless, right? It's used a lot of the time, is used many times in the Bible, but not as a noun. Just like Lilith wasn't referring to one person they use in Isaiah, it was referring to a class of demons, a plural, right? Belial isn't a creature in the Bible, and it's used in this idiom that says the sons of Belial, or the sons of worthlessness, which originally was probably a way of disparaging the targets of the expression as being, worthless, bad people of the worst caliber, kind of like the really rank bottom of society, really useless, terrible people, right? But as time went on, just like the Liliot of Isaiah got interpreted as being a single creature that eventually got developed into the demon that we know now, Belial got misinterpreted as a demon himself that had these sons that were terrible people or terrible creatures, right? And so by the time of the Apocrypha, Belial has transformed, especially in the stuff that they've dug out of the Dead Sea Scrolls, into this massive, monstrous, malevolent angel. Again, kind of like Samael, not a demon opposed to God, but an angel of evil, or an evil angel, that controls either all of the sons of darkness, or a host of demons which he is to commit evil, which he uses to commit evil, or he commits evil with them, or both. Some of the writings of the Dead Sea Scrolls refer to him as the angel of darkness, and to God as the angel of light. So in some of the Dead Sea Scrolls, they have kind of this very dualistic scheme, and they kind of are opposed to each other, even if Belial is ultimately subject to God. They say that he was worshipped by necromancers and wizards, and much like Samael, sometimes he's portrayed as an agent of divine punishment, but sometimes in the Dead Sea Scrolls, he's also taken kind of this Luciferian role of being a rebellious angel. And it's kind of like, up for grabs which version of the story it is. Maybe there was some sort of some sort of interaction between the myths of Belial and Samael, and then also the rising myth of Satan as such, or Lucifer, that must be coming around at the time of the Second Temple Judaism, which is where it found its roots in Christianity, right? Christianity rose up out of the Second Temple Jewish movement, so that is probably where they got the idea of Satan from initially. Those were probably the first people discussing it. So Belial isn't often described as in modern demonological literature that I am aware of. Bless you. But I do know that he was mentioned in the non-demonological, non-religious, even really, Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey, as one of the quote-unquote demons that he describes. Actually, the demons that LaVey talks about are kind of like these archetypes that he wants his followers to be like. In LaVey's Satanic Bible, Belial is described as being the peak of masterlessness and kind of doing whatever you want and ultimate individuality kind of deal. They mentioned a story where Belial accused a holy man in being the jurist of hell. I don't know what the source for that is. I don't know if it's Higashide just making shit up. I can't confirm or deny that. I don't know. But other than those two figures, we also have Adam and Eve, but I think I'm going to leave these two to another day, because I think they will become more important later. Just to touch up on the last episode, though, I know the Lucifuge showed up, so I'm just going to go there and explain Lucifuge because he's brief. So Lucifuge comes from the 18th to 19th century demonological black magic tome, the Grand Grimoire. I think it is either French or Italian, where he is called Lucifuge Rofocale, or Lucifuge Rofocale. And according to the writer of that grimoire, he is the prime minister of hell, which has control over all the wealth and treasures of the world, and as such, if you are to summon and bind him, he can provide you with measureless amounts of money. Which then makes sense why he's serving Astaroth, since Astaroth is now the de facto ruler of hell. He's the prime minister to Astaroth's king, right? To use the analogy of the English kind of ruling system. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any comments on that. Feel free to make them or ask questions, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. If we don't, that was the lecture for today.
Yay.
Yay. Well, the Sodomy and Setsuna had to go to class, so you guys have to too, you know? You can't escape.
No.
Yeah, I wonder to what extent these figures are coming back, because they're all very important in their respective, not Lucifuge, but Belial and Samael are definitely hugely important as like archetypical figures of evil, as the very first incarnations of evil itself in the entire Judeo-Christian mythos, even before Satan or Lucifer ever were a thing in discussion. So I don't know. I don't know what Belial's going to do. I know that Samael's going to come up. I don't know how important she's going to be, though.
Eve had never had her date of death said it in the Bible, right?
I don't believe so, but it was implied that, you know.
No,
I think the idea that they might be going for is a Gnostic conception of Eve as a transcendent, immaterial being. But we will talk about that in the next episode, probably, when we discuss Adam and Eve more.
I just want to know why they need a second Adam.
Right.
Because they didn't make a second Eve.
Right.
So why a second Adam?
Well, I was talking to what my theory was brought up, and I clarified this to Unlimited during the pause, was that I think that they're talking about creating these they're using these creatures, let's say creatures, as in created people, right? That are kind of the apex of the respective faction, the ultimate secret weapon, right? So Setsuna, on the one hand, is a created human, apparently, right? That's had power and knowledge implanted onto him. So he's the creature of the humans. And we have Adam, who's also a creature of the angels, who's having knowledge implanted onto him and power. And so there's the question mark of who is the creature of the demons, if any, at all, right? Which is where my crackpot theory of sodomy perhaps being created by Lilith and implanted into Geptel's world to receive her primordial knowledge and self-awareness came from, as a creature of the angels, or as a creature of the demons, I should say. I don't know why, though, specifically, they would recreate Adam. Because Adam wasn't perfect. Well, you know, that's up for debate. He was as perfect as he could be, I guess. But then he also sinned and fell, right?
Setsuna is he made a better job at resisting temptation than Adam did.
Right.
Like Samael offered him to become God, and he just said no.
Right.
Not interested.
Right. But then again, you know, Setsuna had the benefit of hindsight, you know, because he saw what happened to Adam, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the idea. If they remade Adam, but without the desire to become like God, right? Because, you know, I feel like this ye shall become as God's thing is going to be big. I'm feeling huge Xenogears influence in this game, and Xenogears explicitly discussed that idea of that temptation and the effects of it all throughout the game. Ye shall become as gods is a repeated cliche in that game script, and I feel like that might be the idea here of the temptation to become God, and how these characters deal with that. I feel like that might be coming back, especially because I feel this huge failed Messiah vibe from Setsuna, you know?
Yeah.
And how he's just like completely shuts down the possibility of becoming God when it would entice any human. I just feel like there's something, maybe he was created to be a god. Maybe Adam, who wanted to be God in his original form, needed to be recreated in a way that he can't want to be God anymore. Or maybe they created him so that he could turn into a new god like he wanted to originally, and create for them a new world.
Perhaps the Samael plans to use him that way, you know?
Right.
Like turn him into some sort of messiah at Tokyo Babel.
Right. Which I'm just assuming that everyone's lying to us at this point. I have no reason, because Setsuna omits things from Sorami all the time, and he's our perspective character. So that sends a message in my head that like, oh shit, everybody can be hiding something or lying. I have no reason to believe that Samael actually wants to destroy everything and everyone to die. Right? Like, maybe the offer of do you want to become as God kind of thing is kind of giving, that she has an ulterior motive, a kind of hidden plan. And I'm sure that Lilith has something set up. I'm sure nobody that old and that wise and that emotionally charged is just coasting through this, no problem. Gonna go back to the guy, to God, and kneel and ask for forgiveness? Lilith? I don't know. I don't think so. I think she has a plan too. We just don't know what it is yet. Astaroth very clearly has a hidden plan somehow. I don't know, dude. This all is smelling. This is smelling terrible to me.
I wonder if this new Adam lets Eve get on top during sex.
I hope not, because if Lilith finds out, she's gonna be real pissed. Oh man. Well, I'm really, I keep saying this, but I'm really excited about Tokyo Babel. Every week, though, as soon as we're done recording, I'm like, man, I hope I just can't wait till we read the next part of Tokyo Babel, because it's really, really entrancing. I really quite love it so far. I'm very impressed that Higashide wrote something this good. And it was the year that Apocrypha started getting written. Apocrypha was circulating between 2012 and 2014. This book came out in 2012. So this wasn't a more experienced Higashide looking back at his failures. This was Higashide before he even wrote Apocrypha. It's just crazy to me, I wonder if...
I can certainly see points in common with Apocrypha. Like the need for action. You can keep talking about what you were talking.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that I'm so happy with this so far that I've looked into a couple other works of his, other visual novels of his, and I've added them to the queue, to the buying queue, to the wish list, so that we might look into them in the future when we're done with some of the other stuff that we have to read. But go ahead, Mapo, take over.
No, yeah, it was just that mini battle against Samael felt kind of sudden,
Yeah.
Like, there's this new character introduced out of nowhere, and then there's some first story dialogue involving her identity, and suddenly there's a battle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of does have some of that Apocrypha DNA. But I feel like it's more controlled here. Maybe it's because it's the book format, even though when I read Apocrypha, it didn't really feel that well paced either. But I feel like that has happened once to Samael, right? And it was a little jarring. But it hasn't happened since. I feel like he's working well with long scenes with dialogue that isn't, it isn't worthless dialogue. All the dialogue that he's using, or most of the dialogue that he's using, is useful in some way. These characters all have strong personalities, right? You know exactly who they are. It's not fucking a million characters, right? We're not throwing characters out the wazoo, fucking wasting the reader's mind space. We have a very limited cast, and they all feel like they're people that have plans and individuality and goals and opinions, which is more than I can say for Apocrypha, right? That's really my biggest problem with Apocrypha, is that the cast is too big. 80% of it feels like literal who's, and the ones that don't feel like literal who's, like half of them are just not great, or memorable or interesting. So I feel like Tokyo Babel addresses that perfectly, even if it might have a couple pitfalls. But then again, the thing with Samael didn't weird me out too much. It wasn't great. It wasn't too bad. Only happened once this far. So, I don't know.
Although I really have some comments on that monster design.
What do you think?
I don't know what you think. I just thought it was weird.
Right.
I don't know if that was the intention. It was supposed to be what? Scary, menacing, or disgusting.
Right.
I don't know, it just felt weird.
It did look weird. I kind of like really weird alien-looking monsters. To be fair, I think it might have been a bit unfocused. But then again, you know, to what extent do you need it to be focused? Really, the basilisk, does it really have like a strong identity other than the eyes that turn you to flesh, that turn you to stone? I don't know. I kind of like that the monsters are really weird. But then again, we've only seen a couple of them, so I will reserve judgment for later. Any other comments?
In a certain way, I wish the monsters were weirder.
Right.
You know, because biblical imagery, it's just so
weird,
so bizarre, man.
Right. Some of a lot of the angels in the Bible, I've had this conversation before. A lot of the angels in the Bible are normal in the sense of, like, you know, they're flashes of light or shiny people or just people. But then you have the stuff that you see in the visions, and then in some of the battle scenes in the Old Testament, or just some of the shit that happens to people, like when the interactions between God and Abraham, that are just so fucking weird, because God is this unknowable intelligence, and he just asks seemingly random shit from Abraham, like the Isaac test, right? And, you know, I do agree that the monster designs could be weirder in that sense, of kind of drawing from the vision work of, like, from the Revelations angels and the, you know, some of the angels in the bigger scenes of the Old Testament. But on the other hand, you know, them just being like really weird, creepy alien monsters works for me decently well.
I just want to know the part Raziel plays in this story, because up until now it's been about her book,
right?
Not much about her as a person, as a character.
Yeah. Well, we are in the Raziel route, so I suspect that we're going to find out. I would imagine that her book plays a role, because if I am not mistaken, Raziel in literature, in mythology, wrote 2 books, right? We were talking about this. He wrote the Sefer Raziel HaMalach, which is the one that they mention here, the book of Raziel the Angel, which Raziel gave to Adam, the first one. And then he also wrote the Sefer HaRazim, which he gave to Noah. So I would assume that this is why we're focusing on Adam this early in the Raziel route. It's because this Adam might also want Raziel's book to kind of complete himself with the knowledge that the old him had. Right?
Perhaps.
I think that might be where we're going here. And by extension, I think that maybe the girl that we're looking for, that devoured the angel, might be the one holding the book. I don't know how I would have gotten to her, though. Guess we'll see.
She ate three angels, right?
No, she ate they know that she ate an angel, or they suspect that she has consumed at least one angel because she has wings. Raziel mentioned that depending on how many angels she ate, her power level will be off the charts. And if she ate 3, that's a lot, and she's going to be almost unstoppable. That's what she said. She didn't imply that she actually did eat the 3 of them. They just don't have the info.
But, there were 4 main angels, and 3 of them were wiped out, right?
Right. The 4 archangels, and then 3 of them disappeared. And the 4th one, Michael, died creating Tokyo Babel. Isn't that right? Isn't that the lore?
Yeah. I guess so.
I don't know. Definitely
Where's
very
Jesus,
intrigued.
though?
I don't know, man. I mean, Jesus is part of the Godhead. So when they're talking about talking to God, they would be there. This is obviously taking its own route in terms of the apocalypse. So maybe the second coming already happened. Maybe it's not happening. I don't know.
Maybe Setsuna is Jesus, or Sodomy.
Right. Maybe there. That's part of the idea of the. That might be it, actually. You know, you kindled a third theory in my head. I didn't tell you the second one because it's so absurd. But the third one they just cooked up in my mind is maybe that's why they need all these created creatures, right? Maybe they need to construct a new messiah, and they have to compete with each other to determine which one is the one that's going to be the one. And then
Makes sense.
each faction has to provide kind of a tribute, as it were. Just getting a random guy to reach the gates of heaven isn't going to be enough. They need to get, like, the specimen, kind of. I don't know. That might be it. Many questions. There are many questions. I'm so intrigued. I really want to know what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck you, Higashide. You don't have the right to make me this interested in the story. God damn it. I thought I was going to be able to keep up the Higashide hate, but it's not working. It's not working, Mapo. Fuck. Shit.
You know what would be funny? If at the end of the game, instead of going to New Jerusalem, you go to New Tokyo. That would be sick.
You go to Akira. Everybody meets fucking Tetsuo in Canada. You go out for ice cream. You get jumped by a motorcycle gang. That'd be crazy, bro. It's not beyond Higashide. He would do that shit. I know he would. Fucking bastard. Well, this is it, guys. For people's information, just so that you know, the two Higashide books that I've added to the wish list are Princess Waltz, which is in the JAST catalog, which is officially translated, and Ayakashi Bito, which has not been officially translated, but has been fan translated, as far as I can tell. And they're both Chunin games. Princess Waltz, Higashide didn't write fully. He wrote one of the scenarios for it. But it's a pretty short game. And Ayakashi Bito was fully written by Higashide. But most of the Higashide novels haven't been translated at all. They're all in Japanese. I think they're just, Chunin games, very long, very difficult language for the average translator, at least. And they're all owned by this company called Propeller, which hasn't really formed a contract with a translating group, an official translating group at all. Princess Waltz got officially translated because it was a pull-top game, and pull-top has a contract with JAST. At least, kinda. They also have contracts with Sekai Project and stuff. But, whatever. So yeah, welcome to the Raziel route. I guess this is where we call it off. See you next time, gentlemen.
Well, this time.